For nearly 2 decades, he stood by their side. 19 years of loyalty, guarding their home, protecting their family. But when old age crept in, they threw him out, like an outdated piece of furniture. It seemed like no one would ever take a chance on an old German shepherd with weak legs, until one woman walked in the door. This story will break your heart. The Montana Haven Animal Shelter was small, a drafty little building where the howls of hopeful dogs mingled with the soft whimpers of the dogs. In the far corner, Max lay curled up. He had once been a shadow of his former self. His thick, glossy coat had faded, his movements slow and painful. For 6 months, he had watched playful puppies and strong young dogs, a shepherd with a tired gaze. Lucy softly to herself, "Poor thing, he barely touches his food anymore." Lucy, a college student who volunteers her weekends, sighed as she looked at him. "He's just waiting," she told the staff. "I'm just not sure if it's for a new home or for the end." Max's ears twitched at her voice, but his head remained down, resting on his trembling paws. He lost interest in everything until she showed up. Hannah Thompson hadn't planned on adopting that day. It had been over a year since she'd last set foot on the beach. She'd come with her husband, David. But cancer had taken David too quickly, and her little house in Bozeman seemed emptier than ever. Day. The camera follows Hannah as she walks past the barking puppies, her boots crunching on the concrete floor. She stops at Max's kennel. The younger dogs were whining and wagging their tails, begging for attention. But Hannah's eyes were fixed on the kennel at the end of the row. There he was, Max, still staring off into nowhere. She froze. Hannah kneels, peering through the bars. The shelter worker, Michael, approaches. Michael, gently but wearily, "This is Max. He's been here for 6 months. He's very old." Hannah, "How did he end up here?" Michael, "His family gave him a ride. They said he was too old, too slow. They didn't have time for him anymore." Hannah's breath caught. 19 years, Michael told her. 19 years with the same family, and they just threw him away like yesterday's trash. She gripped the cold metal bars tighter, Hannah whispering, "Does he look alive at all anymore?" Lucy, shaking her head, "Not really. He's barely eating. It's like he's already gone." Hannah was struck by the pain, too familiar. She saw in Max the same emptiness she had seen in her reflection since David left. She slipped quietly inside the kennel and sat down beside him. "Hannah, Max, look at me." Hearing her voice, Max moved, just barely. His murky brown eyes shot up to meet hers. For a split second, something flashed between them. Quiet understanding, a shared burden of loss and loneliness. Then he looked away, sinking back into his shell. Michael watches from outside the kennel, arms folded. Michael, "Don't get your hopes up, ma'am. He's not like the others." Hannah, turning around. "What do you mean?" Michael, "We've seen old dogs come through here. Some scared, some sharp, some just plain sad. But Max, he's empty, like he has nothing left." Hannah's chest tightened, empty. She knew the feeling all too well, but then she said something that surprised even her. Hannah, quietly to herself, "He wasn't always like this." Lucy, curiously, "What do you mean?" Hannah, "No dog lives to be 19 without someone taking care of them. No dog lives that long without wanting to live." She thought about those 19 years, almost a lifetime for a dog. How could anyone throw that away? Anger flared in her, then sadness, then something else. "You decide." Hannah, firmly. I'll take him. Michael, shocked. Are you sure? He might not last all night. He's barely eating. Hannah, jaw set. Then at least he won't be alone when it happens. Michael nodded, grabbed the papers, and just like that, Max had a new home, or at least a chance at one. Hannah lifted his frail body into her truck, her heart pounding. What did she do? For days she had barely been able to hold herself together, let alone care for a dying dog. But something in Max wouldn't let her leave. The Montana wind howled outside as Hannah carried Max to her little ranch house. She set him down by the fireplace, her hands shaking. He didn't move, didn't respond. He just lay there, the ghost of a dog. Hannah whispering, "You're home, Max." No answer. She made him a bowl of warm broth and softened cereal, pushing it toward him. Nothing. Hours passed as she sat on the couch, watching his slow breathing. Exhaustion dragged her down, and she drifted until a sharp sound woke her. There he stood, motionless in the hallway, his misty eyes fixed on the photograph of David. Then, something unreal. Max whimpered softly, mournfully. Hannah's heart stopped. He didn't, since she had met him. But now, looking at her late husband's face, something inside him broke out. A hidden pain, a memory she couldn't fathom. The next day, Hannah needed answers. She dug through Max's shelter file, found the names and addresses of his old owners, and drove straight to their doorstep. It wasn't about confrontation, it was about the truth. The house was a 2-story lawn, a shiny SUV in the driveway. A woman in her 60s answers the door, cold and distant. Woman, yes? Hannah, I'm Hannah Thompson. I took in Max, the dog you left at the shelter. Woman shrugging. Oh, him. No warmth, no remorse, just indifference. Hannah clenched her fists. Hannah, I need to know about his past. Woman, flatly. He's been with us a long time. He's gotten old, he's slowed down. It wasn't fair to keep him. Hannah, voice rising. 19 years and you just dumped him? The woman's husband enters, a gray-haired man with a stern face. Husband, you should know, he wasn't just a pet, he was a working dog. My partner. Hannah's jaw dropped. Partner? The man was a retired cop. Max, once called Shadow, had been his K-9 unit. He said he was the best. Her mind raced. Max's alertness, his calm discipline, it all worked. Hannah, why didn't you tell the shelter? Husband, roughly, it wouldn't have mattered. He was too old. Nobody wants a washed-up dog. His words cut deep. Max had risked his life for this man, and when age sapped his strength, he was rejected. Hannah ran out, vowing that Max would never feel such betrayal again. Back home, Max's health had failed. Convulsions had gripped his fragile body. Hannah rushed to the vet, tears blurring her vision. In the sterile examination room, Dr. Whitaker delivered the news. Dr. Whitaker, he's 19, Hannah. His organs are failing. It's a miracle he's lasted this long. Hannah gasped. What do I do? Dr. Whitaker, you can let him go, or we can fight. The treatment won't be easy, and there are no guarantees. Hannah looked at Max. He was still fighting, still clinging to life. She couldn't give him up. For 2 brutal weeks, she had poured everything into his recovery, medication, therapy, hand-feeding him every morsel. Some nights she would wake up to check his breathing, and then one night it happened. Max nudges her hand with his nose, then licks it subtly. Hannah, tears flowing. Hey, buddy, you're still here. It wasn't much, but it was all. Max fought back. A few weeks later, Max wasn't the same dog. He would never be young, but he was alive. One frosty morning, he stood alone, taking slow, stubborn steps. Hannah's heart sank. Hannah, you did it, Max. Narrator. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was living. He followed her around the house, ate a little more every day, even wagging his tail subtly. They had saved each other. Max was a hero, a soldier, a comrade, who was abandoned when he couldn't serve. But Hannah gave him what no one else could: a home, a purpose, a second chance. If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share. Let's spread hope, one story at a time.